And a very, very pleasant good afternoon to all you vaqueros. Thank you for tuning in this week to a brand new edition of All In with Ali, Vaquero Radio's spot for sports takes and updates and what's going on in the world of sports. I'm your host, Ali, and it's the day after the big game. The football season is over, and we have a new champion. That's right. There will not be a three-peat this year as the Philadelphia Eagles absolutely whopped the Kansas City Chiefs 40-22. Don't let that final score confuse you. It was a lot further than this score implied. And I was going to say, I thought the Eagles were going to go ahead and win this game because they were the better team on paper. I just did not expect this kind of a thrashing. There's a lot going on here. Let's get into it. First of all, Jalen Hurts, Super Bowl MVP performance. He was incredible in this one. 17 for 22, 221 yards, 2 touchdowns. Did have the 1 pick, but he made the throws when his team needed it to. Got the ball to his receivers. You couldn't really have asked for a better performance from your quarterback in the Super Bowl like you did from Jalen Hurts. Also, good work by the Eagles O-line because the kind of pockets that they were giving Jalen Hurts, he had all the time in the world to make the throws that he needed to. That pocket was just so clean. You could sit down, have a meal, and then still have time to throw the ball downfield. Jalen Hurts just had that much time in the pocket, and that was huge credit to the Eagles O-line right there. But the real story has to be the performance by the Eagles defense in this game. This was as good of a defensive performance as we've seen from the Eagles all year. Because last year, if you remember, the Eagles, they got out to a quick start, but then they started slowly collapsing towards the end of the year because their defense wasn't performing as well as they'd like. So Howie Roseman, who's the general manager of the Philadelphia Eagles, he went out, he got the pieces he needed on defense, and they went to work. The defensive line, incredible. And here's just a stat that shocked me. The Eagles did not blitz once on defense. They did not blitz once. They did not send an extra rusher in. It was just the front four, going in to attack Mahomes and attack the O-line. The rest dropped back into coverage. Despite that, Mahomes still got sacked 6 times, including the late strip sack that more or less effectively, the late strip sack and the turnover that more or less sealed the deal. That was just an incredible performance. Absolutely dominating the matchup in the trenches right there on both sides of the ball. The Chiefs O-line did struggle a lot in this game, but I think the real story, 2 interceptions by Patrick Mahomes. Don't let the 21 for 32 fool you. This was as bad of a performance as we've seen from Patrick Mahomes in a while. Absolutely. It was not just him. It seemed like this entire Chiefs offense just was not clicking this entire game. No points in the first half. They did not even enter Eagles territory until late in the third quarter. Travis Kelce, 4 receptions, only 39 yards, had a couple of drops in this game as well. So there might be some conversations about the kind of future that Travis Kelce has in the Chiefs organization because he's getting up there in age. He doesn't block as well as he used to, and the numbers on the reception side of it are getting worse and worse as he ages. So Travis Kelce, he's a Hall of Fame tight end. He's great. He's delivered in a lot of big games for the Chiefs, but that conversation's gonna have to start in the Chiefs front office as to what they're gonna do with Kelce after the fact. But Xavier Worthy, though, did have 2 touchdowns, did have a couple of big plays, and he's going to be a problem for quite a few years in this league. He's a great wide receiver, and I sort of penciled him that he was going to have a great performance because he's one of the best, more reliable options on that Chiefs offense. Even though that second touchdown was more or less a garbage time play, I still think Xavier Worthy is going to be good. He's going to be pretty good for a while. He was great in Texas. That's why the Chiefs went ahead and drafted him. But yeah, it was absolute. This was just a beatdown. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's there's no other way I can describe this performance other than this was an absolute beatdown. Chiefs dominated the ball on both ends. They 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 made the plays they needed to. The Eagles defense was just lights out, and the Chiefs offense was not. The Chiefs offense just did not click. Well, it was a great game overall. If you were hate watching the Chiefs like many of us were, I don't know if you're a Cowboys fan, you might feel conflicted. I know that there are quite a few Cowboys fans here. Uh, did you root for the Chiefs, or did you want to let your division rival go ahead and win a Super Bowl by rooting against the Chiefs? Either way, I think this goes to show it's not easy to three-peat in this league. I said it last week, and I'll say it again this week. It's not easy to win in the NFL. Chiefs won the last two Super Bowls, but winning a third, there's a reason that no one's done it before. It's because it's difficult. The longer you stay at the top, the more teams want a gun for you to bring you down. We'll take it to a break here. We'll continue this discussion on Super Bowl on last night's game. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back after the break. You're listening to Vaquero Radio, the Valley student station. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back. Welcome back to All In with Ali. Now, just quickly, how exactly did we get to this point? I mean, remember 2017, remember a few years, it was quite a ways back when the Eagles won their first Super Bowl with Nick Foles. They were deciding what to do with their future, because they had Carson Wentz under center, who went down with injury. Nick Foles took over. Y'all know the story. Backup takes the Eagles to the Super Bowl and wins it all, wins the MVP there. But the Eagles had a question on what to do with who was going to be their man under center. Well, they ended up trading Carson Wentz, and, well, it was a great move by Howie Roseman, because after that, using the picks that the Eagles acquired from that Carson Wentz trade, they went and got Devontae Smith, who scored a touchdown, who scored in this game. They went and traded they traded one of those picks for A.J. Brown, who also scored in this game. I mean, that trade in and of itself was, I don't know how the Titans let A.J. Brown go for just that pick, because I guess they saw a lot in the guy that they ended up picking up, but just who did they end up picking up? They ended up picking wide receiver Treylon Burks, who, no disrespect to him, but he hasn't been A.J. Brown. And then one of the picks they also used, they got Cooper DeJean, and then as well Jalen Carter was also used in a pick swap. They got Jalen Carter for him too. So they basically got so many pieces that came up huge for the Eagles in this game, and I think those are just some great moves. But what does this mean? Well, with Tom Brady watching, Tom Brady, he was probably watching with a grin on his face, because he knows his legacy is secure. I think that after today, the debate for who's the GOAT in the NFL, it ended. It ended after last night. We're not going to hear Brady Mahomes GOAT conversations at least for another 5 years after this game. Our station manager here in the studio, he's agreeing with me, because he knows I'm right. I mean, how can you say there's a GOAT debate? I mean, I never want to hear Patrick Mahomes mentioned in the same sentence as Tom Brady again after tonight's game. Let's go through it a bit, shall we? Tom Brady in his career has played in 10 Super Bowls, 7-3. He's lost twice to the New York Giants and once to the Eagles. Same story I mentioned earlier with Nick Foles. Tom Brady has never lost a Super Bowl by more than one score, which is absolutely insane. Every time, and in every single one of those every single one of those losses, Tom Brady has had the chance to put his team up front, and he just came up short. But he was still keeping his team in the game. And then, of course, in the other Super Bowls, Tom Brady ended up winning them, obviously. And then even in and he's come up in situations where the Patriots were down or where his team was down, and he's come through and he hasn't, but he's always put the team in those situations. Patrick Mahomes, on the other hand, has played in 5 Super Bowls in his career, is 3-2. In those 3 wins, that's when everything clicked for Patrick Mahomes. That's when everything just went right. And in the other 2, I mean, they were total blowouts. Even in the losses, it felt like Tom Brady had his best performance. And the other 2, I mean, I think the differential for Patrick Mahomes for the Chiefs in their Super Bowl losses with Mahomes under center is something like -40. And those 2 losses were one against Tom Brady's Buccaneers way back a few years ago, about 4 years ago. And the other one was last night. I mean, how can you say there's a debate for who's the greatest of all time? You clearly can't say it's anyone other than Tom Brady right now. I mean, you just can't. Who knows? Maybe give Mahomes a few more years, but right now, today, as of today, February 10th, 2025, there shouldn't be those kind of conversations. I mean, what else is there to compare to? What else is there to think about? You just have to say Brady never lost by more than a score in any Super Bowl he's ever played in. Mahomes has gotten whooped in both of his Super Bowl losses and in his wins. Yeah, he played great in those wins, but even if you're not playing great, you still have to make those adjustments. Look what happened. Super Bowl 51. Patriots are down 28-3. They made those adjustments. They just chipped away and got back into the game. At some point, even in the third quarter where the Chiefs were down by 27, there was that if there was any moment to come up for your team and have that game where you put yourself into that GOAT conversation, it was right then and there when your team was down big, and there were just no adjustments being made. The team just completely fell apart the entire game. They were just never there. And so, yeah, the GOAT debate should be over for now. Could we revisit this in 10 years? Probably. But as of today, it's more than likely over. As another season ends, another one begins, and UTRGV baseball starts play this week against Southern Illinois. What are the big storylines? Well, let me tell you, there are 3 storylines surrounding the UTRGV baseball team this season. First of all, pitching. The Vaqueros pitching staff is going to get a huge piece in returning to the rotation. Graduate starting pitcher Angelo Cabral has returned from injury, and he will be pitching the first game of the season. If you haven't kept up with UTRGV baseball, a couple years ago, Angelo Cabral, this was the 2023 season, he became UTRGV's first 10-win pitcher since Sam Street did it in 2014. Next year, he returned, pitched 5 innings in the season opener. Unfortunately, his season ended due to injury, and now he seeks to return 2025 in his final season and will be the opening day starting pitcher, and the Vaqueros are glad to have him back in the fold. Speed and contact, that's the name of the game for the UTRGV offense, and the recruits that they have brought in, the transfers that have came in, a lot of speed in that lineup. Be prepared for a lot of stolen bases. And last but certainly not least, this has been a storyline for all of UTRGV's teams this year. New year, new conference. We're going to see a whole lot of new opponents, some familiar, some not, and that's why we play the games. All right, we'll talk a little bit of soccer after this. We'll be back on All In with Ali. Don't touch that dial. We'll be back after this break. And welcome back to All In with Ali. It's match week in the Champions League today, and we got two match days. We got tomorrow and on Wednesday. Biggest ones, I think, Feyenoord and Milan going on Wednesday, and City versus Real going tomorrow. That's gonna be a huge first leg. I'm looking forward to it. When this matchup was drawn in the in the draw for this stage of the Champions League. I was looking forward to it. Usually these two clubs always put on good performances against each other, but I think Real goes on to the next round into the round of 16 in this one. Other ones to look out for: Celtic and Bayern, Monaco and Benfica, and Brugge versus Atalanta will be going on Wednesday. Feyenoord and Milan as well, alongside City and Real going tomorrow. Juve and PSV, Sporting versus Dortmund, and Brest versus Paris Saint-Germain. Winners of both combined legs will advance to the round of 16. Again, completely new format this year. It's changed a lot, but we're looking forward to see what it can bring for us. And thus far, it's brought a lot of excitement, and I'm looking forward to it. Especially with the Clash of Titans down in the later stage. But winners of these will advance to the round of 16. And another note I want to make a quick point about: what happened with Liverpool in the FA Cup the other week. I'm totally stunned. I mean, this is supposed to be right now Liverpool top of the Premier League table, top of the Champions League table, like making the case that they're the best formed club in the world at the moment. And just to get upset in the FA Cup by Plymouth Argyle, who's playing in the Championship this year, by the way. I mean, it's a great story if you're Plymouth Argyle, but if you're Liverpool, this is a team that they were pretty much expecting to go in and win against, and they just didn't. I mean, for every Man City, for every story of big clubs just dominating, there's always a story of the little club coming out on top, and those are incredible stories to witness unless you're a fan of the big club. I don't know. I thought that was a shock of all shocks that happened the other week. I was completely surprised, stunned that Liverpool lost that game. It's always great seeing the little clubs win, but it always comes as a shock when it happens. But that's why you play the games. That's why you play 90 minutes. Well, let's talk about some implications of the trade deadline from the NBA this past weekend. The Spurs, their big piece in De'Aaron Fox made his debut, and he was incredible. I mean, 21 points, 12 assists, got a double-double there. More assists than Chris Paul, mind you, than Chris Paul had in that game. Spurs would go on to win that game at the line when Wembanyama made the first free throw to give them the lead, then missed the second free throw, so the Hawks couldn't get set with 2 timeouts. San Antonio's has been in a bit of a skid lately. Has lost both of their last 2 games against the Magic and the Hornets, teams that they probably would expect to beat in very close games. And this week tonight they play the Wizards, who are one of the worst teams in the association at the moment. So the Spurs looking for a get right game, but I don't understand what Mitch Johnson is doing. I mean, I get when Chris Paul signed at the beginning of the year, he didn't want it to be in another Golden State situation where he wasn't starting. But that was before they traded for one of the best point guards in the sport right now. De'Aaron Fox is a San Antonio Spur. We got that. They made a big move to get him. Yes. And he's one of the best point guards in the league right now. Yes. So what? But you also have Stephon Castle, who is a great guard, who was drafted 4th overall, who's having an incredible season, who just a couple of days ago dropped 33 on the bench. And yet Chris Paul is starting over Stephon Castle. I don't understand it. I think the more sensible basketball move would be put De'Aaron Fox as your number one point guard, as the point guard leader of the first team. Start Stephon Castle at the 2 and let Chris Paul lead the second unit. I get that he provides that presence and those intangibles, But if the Spurs wanted to make a push for a playoff spot, that's something they would probably consider doing. But I mean, if you're the San Antonio Spurs, you're not really putting too much stock into this season because De'Aaron Fox was not a win now, we're getting a ring this year type of move. De'Aaron Fox wanted to play in San Antonio, and he's willing to sign an extension to stay here as far as everything that I've seen. And he's also under contract through the end of next season as well. So this year it's more about keeping the core together, about developing. It would be nice to see them make the playoffs, but worst case scenario, the Spurs end up with the second lottery pick. Well, because they have the Hawks, they have the Atlanta Hawks' first round pick this year, which this year the Atlanta Hawks, they traded a lot of their pieces. They've been on a bit of a skid. They're barely on the outside of a play-in spot. So the San Antonio Spurs perhaps hoping that the Hawks could slide further down, and maybe they end up with 2 lottery picks if the Spurs don't make the playoffs. If the Spurs do make the play-in, well, they get the chance to give Wembanyama and Stephon Castle and some of their younger pieces a bit more time and experience in the playoffs. I really like the moves that the Spurs are doing. It's just right now it's a bit unfortunate, especially as a fan, to see them slide down at this moment. But the future is still bright in San Antonio, and I thought Fox is an incredible pickup. Mavericks, on the other hand, Anthony Davis had his first game as a Maverick earlier this week, which already was the site of a lot of drama because it was the very first home game that the Dallas Mavericks had since they traded Luka Doncic away to the Lakers. And the scenes before the game were just absolutely not anything I'd ever thought I'd see in the NBA in my lifetime. I mean, there were fans lined up and protesting outside of the stadium before the game even started. I mean, Luka Doncic meant a lot to Dallas and to that fan base. The motto that is inscribed on the statue of Dirk Nowitzki outside of the stadium, I believe, says loyalty above everything. And the Mavs organization did not show that any bit to Luka Doncic when they traded him away, knowing they could have got a lot more back. That in and of itself is still shocking. But anyway, Anthony Davis made his debut and almost as if on cue. Anthony Davis had an electric first quarter before he went down for injury, and now he's expected to miss a couple of months. If conditioning and health was really the issue as to why they traded Luka in the first place, I don't understand why they would go ahead and make Anthony Davis, as great of a player as he is, and I believe that when he is healthy, he's a top 5 player in the league. But that's the thing. He's almost never healthy. It's difficult. It's difficult to keep him on the court because he's always getting injured with something or another. When he's on the court, he's dynamic. He's incredible. He's a great player. No disrespect to him, but when he's not on the court, when he's rarely on the court now because there's always seems to be an injury bug surrounding him. And if conditioning was the issue, they trade, and then you make a trade for an injury-prone player. That's the sign of an organization that, to me, has no idea what they're doing. And this was a win-now move, according to Nico Harrison, but win now, and the centerpiece of that trade is going to be out for months. I just don't get it. I really just don't get it. I really just don't. I'm still, in a way, there's a lot of people still trying to process that trade, and we won't know the butterfly effect of everything that goes on till after the fact because it happened only a week ago. But I'm surprised. Meanwhile, Luka Doncic, who's been dealing with the calf injury since Christmas Day and hasn't played since, he's expected to make his home debut tonight at the Staples. I mean, it's not the Staples Center anymore. It's the Crypto.com Arena. I mean, a lot of fans still call it the Staples Center, but we can argue that later. Luka is expected to make his debut tonight at home versus the Utah Jazz. That game expected to take place, I believe, at 9:30, and That's the game that people are really looking forward to this week. We'll take a bit of a break here on All In with Ali. Don't touch that dial. We'll be back. After this, you're listening to Vaquero Radio, the Valley student station. Welcome back to All In with Ali. Thanks for joining us after the break. What do we got coming up this week in the world of sports? Well, two things. The NBA All-Star break is this weekend. The All-Star game should take place on Sunday. The dunk contest, the three-point contest, and all the festivities are taking place this week. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to say that watch out for Stephon Castle. I think he's going to be a great player in this league. He's playing in the dunk contest this year, and you're going to see exactly why he's in the dunk contest. He's incredible. He's so good at driving to the lane. He's so good in the paint, and he's going to be special for San Antonio in the years to come. Also happening this week, baseball is returning. Pitchers and catchers report to spring training this week for several teams. They've already reported for the Chicago Cubs and a few other, at least that I know of so far. The Houston Astros pitchers and catchers report to spring training on Thursday, and we're looking forward to the start of baseball right after the end of the Super Bowl. Right now, it's bit of a weird time. Football just ended. UCL is just, the Champions League is starting to kick up. NBA and NHL are in full swing, and baseball is just starting up. So there's still plenty more to keep up with around here, and we'll have all that for you. Also, congratulations to former coach and broadcaster Hubie Brown on his retirement. After last night, he broadcasted his final game when the Sixers took on the Milwaukee Bucks. And here's a crazy thing, because Hubie Brown was a coach for many years and then he became a broadcaster. He's coached against or broadcasted a game of 80% of players in NBA history. That to me is just insane. Just insane. He's been in this league a while. He's had a great career. Stat courtesy of Bleacher Report. Congratulations to Hubie Brown on his retirement, and hope everything goes well there. What's on this day in sports history? Well, while we're on the theme of Philadelphia on this edition of All In with Ali, the NBA All-Star Game in 2002 was hosted in a new arena in Philly. Back then, it was called the First Union Center. Now it's Wells Fargo Arena. And the NBA All-Star Game took place there. The Western Conference All-Stars took on the Eastern Conference All-Stars and won 135-120. And the late Kobe Bryant was the MVP in that game. Kobe Bryant, of course, from Lower Merion High School. He's from the area. He was an Eagles fan. And he's definitely smiling watching after the Eagles won this Super Bowl today. Program notes for the rest of the week here on Vaquero Radio. In the Know with Coleman Beck takes place tomorrow at 4 p.m. On Wednesday, tune into the newscast at 11 a.m. for the latest news and updates around campus. At 1 p.m., we got Coffee Noise on Wednesday from our Edinburgh studio. Thursday's full slate of programming includes Library Talk at 10 a.m. from Brownsville, RGV Community Health also from Brownsville at 11:30, and Vaquero Insider at 1 p.m. at 1 p.m. And Friday, we end our week with Office Hours. That's going to be all for this edition of All In with Ali. Thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate it. And as always, stay classy, UTRGV. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great day.